invested $50,000 in a house together until I came home to a moving truck and a note saying, "Sorry, I'm gone." The moving truck blocked my driveway like a refrigerator shoved into the middle of a hallway. Too big, too present, impossible to ignore. Our address was scrawled in dry erase on the back liftgate, and a man in a gray shirt was tilting a dolly down the ramp with a box I recognized because I'd written "Books Do Not Crush" in my careful accountant handwriting. At first, my brain did the thing where it tries to protect you by insisting there's a reasonable explanation. Surprise Reno crew? Donation pickup? April Fools in August? Then I saw the hollow rectangle on the living room hardwood where the rug had kept the wood a shade lighter, a ghost of color around an absence. And the little plastic slider that had fallen from the couch leg lay in the emptiness like a coin on an abandoned stage. Someone had already been here, made decisions I wasn't in on, and left enough silence for it to echo. The note was on the fridge under the magnet from the lighthouse we'd driven 3 hours to see, and then decided not to climb because admission was $12 and we were saving every stray dollar for replacing the electrical. Yellow sticky. Her neat looping hand. "Sorry, I'm gone. Don't look for me." 3 sentences, no signature, not even the affectionate dash she used to draw beneath her name when she wanted to feel cute. Somewhere behind my ribs, something caved in and then stuck there like wet cardboard. I typed, "Where are you?" and sent it without thinking. Watched it flip from blue to delivered and then sit there, steady and stupid. The kitchen looked like it had lost weight fast. The mismatched mugs we said we'd live with until we found the perfect ones had left 2 dust halos on the shelf. She'd taken the kettle, which felt personal, and the little jar of sea salt her aunt had brought from a vacation where we were supposed to be invited and weren't. Our future backsplash sample tiles were still leaning against the wall. The spice rack we'd argued about, she hated visible clutter, I liked the feeling of abundance, was gone, and I could see 4 bright clean circles where the spice jars had rested. A mercy. The ugly fluorescent fixture we both despised was still here, buzzing faintly so at least I had something to hate that wasn't a person. Outside, the air had that late summer heaviness that makes you sweat without moving. Mrs. Carver from next door stood on her lawn with her arms folded, a posture that was mostly habit, like arresting skepticism. "Alex," she said, as if she'd been practicing my name and worry. "They were here yesterday, too." She tilted her chin at the truck. "Different company, orange shirts. She told me not to tell you, said it was fine." I made my mouth work around the shape of who, and what, and why, and everything felt ridiculous coming out of me. We'd sat on Mrs. Carver's porch 3 weeks ago and eaten blueberry bars, and she'd said, "You two have good bones," like we were already part of the house itself. Now her eyes made me feel like I'd left a toddler near an open pool. I called her, straight to voicemail. Her recorded voice, cheerful and thin. "Hey, it's Maya." I hung up before the beep, so I wouldn't turn into some version of myself I couldn't defend later. My second call was to the number of the moving company on the side of the truck. "We can't discuss a client's job without authorization," the dispatcher said in a voice cobbled from policy. "Is she there?" I asked, and he said something like, "Sir, I don't have visibility into crew location," which I recognize from my own job as the sentence you say when there are rules to hide behind. A text slid in from an unknown number. "Please don't make this worse. I'm okay." The area code matched ours. It could have been her. It could have been someone telling me to stay in my sandbox. Our hallway closet door was open a few inches. I nudged it and felt the give of the jacket we bought at a thrift store because she said it made me look like a professor. It was still there, and I hated it for not having the decency to leave. Her raincoat was gone. The umbrella was not. On the closet floor, a roll of painter's tape lay like a discarded halo. 2 strips of tape were still stuck to the baseboard where we'd been masking off trim when the roller exploded, and we'd laughed so hard we forgot to press pause on the podcast. The laughter felt like it belonged to a nicer couple in a different house. I sat at the dining table and opened my laptop because when I don't know what to do, I make lists. The table wobbled because we never fixed the back leg like we said we would. "Call bank," I typed. "Ring camera footage," I typed. "Neighbors. Ask if anyone saw license plate," I typed. And then felt stupid, because what would I do with a license plate? Chase them down and wave the sticky note? The Ring app had a new banner I'd never seen before. Device offline. The internet was still working. The TV was streaming ads for kitchen appliances we didn't need. I stood and checked the camera by the door and saw the little plastic cover hanging at an angle. Someone had pulled the battery. Cool. Deliberate. When we'd toured the house, the realtor had said the neighborhood was on the upswing, which is code for don't walk alone at night yet. We liked the underdog energy. We liked the way the sun fell on the cracked sidewalk at 6 p.m. We liked how adding our effort could change something. Maya had a way of narrating our progress that made things sound like destiny. The good bones, the story in the walls, the future equity. like a living thing. In June, she discovered a meetup group that called itself the Freedom Flip Academy. And she came home high on vocabulary. Everyone there's doing stuff, she said, rummaging our mail for a flyer. They're not scared. They use money like a lever. I made a joke about Archimedes and she rolled her eyes and kissed me, and then she stayed up till midnight on a Zoom call with strangers, and I fell asleep on a spreadsheet that predicted how much we'd save if we did our own backsplash. I found the fridge calendar still stuck with a magnet shaped like a lemon. Freedom Flip, Tuesday 7 p.m., was written in blue, 5 times over the past 6 weeks. A regular rhythm like church. We'd started arguing in new tones, not louder, just in a different language. She'd say, "You're scarcity-minded," and I'd say, "No, I'm math." And she'd say, "I need air," and I'd say, "We need cash." We'd both say, "we," like it bound us tighter just to say it. When she told me she wanted to put the house to work, it made my skin feel 2 sizes too small. "We are the work," I said dumbly, and she held up her phone and said, "You should meet Tyler. He makes it make sense." I did not meet Tyler. I did not think I had to. I thought love meant trusting your partner to outgrow phrases that scared you. My laptop chimed again with the HELOC notification, like a teacher tapping the board until you look up. The button said, "Review." I clicked because I didn't know what else to do. A different app opened with a lock icon. It showed an application number and a dollar amount that made my teeth feel loose. There was our address, our parcel number, our assessed value, our loan-to-value ratio, our names. Except the line "Authorized Signers" had a version of my signature that looked like it had been traced by someone watching a video at double speed. The request had been made 38 minutes ago. A progress bar said, "Pending funding." A box asked, "Approve? Yes/no." My thumb hovered over the glass of my phone like it could press the past. The man in the gray shirt knocked on the doorframe and asked, neutral, "Do you want the tool chest loaded? Or is that staying?" His neutrality felt like an insult. And then I realized he didn't know any of the nouns he was using were tied to anything. "It's staying," I said, and my voice cracked. And he nodded, and didn't look at me too long. There were scuff marks on the wall where the couch had been dragged. A smear of her pink nail polish was on the edge of the doorway where she'd probably tried to pry a box open with the least practical object available. I wondered if that indignity had made her laugh or cry. I wondered if she'd done any of this without crying. I stepped outside and the truck's diesel cough was suddenly too much noise. "Alex," Mrs. Carver called again, softer. "Sweetheart, do you need me to call someone?" I almost said, "My wife," and then didn't, because we weren't anything official yet. Not on paper. You can wave in a person's face and say, "This is mine to keep." On paper, we were tenants in common because that structure made sense to me then. And now it felt like I'd left the door unlocked on purpose. "I'm okay," I lied. "Thank you." She studied me like a storm cloud she couldn't classify, and then nodded, both of us pretending her porch wouldn't light up at 2 a.m. when she couldn't sleep. Back inside, I put my hand on the counter where we'd argued about quartz versus butcher block, a safe domestic argument we'd been good at. The laminate was cool, a little grainy, and I pressed until my palm hurt. Then I opened the banking app because I was still a person I recognized. The kind of person who calls the number on the back of the card and reads the sequence and waits to talk to someone who calls you sir while they look at your life in little green fonts. I tapped through the menus and hit call and listened to the faux concerned piano, while a recorded voice told me my call was important. In the space between the piano and the voice, I stared at the sticky note again and thought how generous it was to apologize first. How neat it was to organize leaving into "Don't look for me." How clean it made everything feel for her. The hold on the account went through, at least temporarily. But the agent's voice carried that insurance company tone of "We've done everything legally required, not everything morally sufficient." When I hung up, the house hummed too loudly with its half-empty echo. My own breath felt like it was ricocheting off the walls. I needed proof. Proof of what? I wasn't sure. That she had left on purpose? That she had help? That I hadn't imagined all the pieces sliding into place? The kitchen drawer where we tossed junk and receipts was lighter than it had ever been. Under a pad of coupons, I found a slim folder. She must have tucked it there in a hurry, maybe thinking it was out of sight. Inside were glossy handouts with gold and blue branding. Freedom Flip Academy. Unlock your assets, unlock your life. Pages with slogans like "Debt is freedom and fear is poverty." There was a lanyard with her name on it. Maya S., Investor in Progress. The real gut punch was the spiral notebook filled with her handwriting. Bullet points about using HELOCs as leverage. Don't tell scarcity-minded partners until you've already jumped. And, Tyler says, trust the process, not the doubters. I sat down on the floor with it, the hardwood pressing into my back, and read until my stomach hurt. Every margin had little mantras. almost religious. If you love me, don't clip my wings. Locks are for the fearful. This house is the key. It was like watching someone's brain get rewritten in front of me, except it had already happened when I wasn't looking. I called her brother Nick. His voice cracked when he answered. And it wasn't the fake kind. I just helped her with boxes, man, he blurted, like he was already defending himself. I asked if he knew about the credit line. Silence, then a shaky exhale. They said if she didn't act fast, she'd miss her shot. Tyler promised she could double it in 6 months. He said you'd only drag her down if you knew. My throat tightened until words came out jagged. Nick, she forged my name. He muttered. She didn't want to, but they said it was the only way. His tone carried that guilty loyalty. He was still her brother first, even if he knew this smelled like rot. After we hung up, I went straight to the Ring app again. Device still offline. But I scrolled back and found a cached thumbnail from the night before. 2 figures at the porch. Maya, in a hoodie, crouched by the lockbox with the spare key. Next to her, a man with slicked back hair held a flashlight under his chin. The angle was bad, but I could see him glance up at the camera, smirk, and then tug it free. My gut said it was Tyler. My phone buzzed with a new email from the moving company, one I hadn't even contacted. Thank you for your business. Please find attached your invoice and delivery address confirmation. The PDF listed our old couch, her dresser, our kitchenware, every item accounted for. The destination address wasn't another storage unit. It was a downtown loft rental under Sunrise Properties LLC. The name matched the LLC listed in her notes. She hadn't vanished into nowhere. She had moved into a corporate shell she'd built for herself. The weight of it landed then. Not just the betrayal, but the planning. The layers. 2 different moving days so I wouldn't notice everything at once. A fake email to approve the loan. Friends, maybe even her own brother, looped in to help her disappear without technically lying. I pulled up my bank app again to confirm the hold and felt the sudden press of panic that maybe they'd beat me to it. Maybe the money was already gone, but no. Still, pending fraud review. I couldn't stay still. I left the house, the emptiness clinging to me like static, and walked to Mrs. Carver's porch. She was still sitting out, sipping something in a glass. She studied me without judgment, but the kind that knows more than you're telling. I saw a man with her last night, she said before I asked. Tall, hair combed too shiny. He looked at me like I was furniture. Her jaw tightened. I didn't like it. She didn't need to tell me his name. I already knew. That night, I spread everything out on the dining table like evidence. The Freedom Flip folder, the notebook with its mantras, the Ring snapshot, the invoice. The sticky note from the fridge sat in the center, that pathetic apology absorbing the lamplight. I started snapping photos with my phone, making a digital archive. Not because I wanted revenge, at least that's what I told myself, but because some part of me still believed in proof, in facts, in lining up pieces until the picture revealed itself. At midnight, I texted her again. We need to talk. I know about the loan. I have the proof. Please don't make this worse. Delivered. No response. Minutes later, Nick texted instead. She's scared. Don't corner her. They said you'll ruin everything if you go public. I stared at that message until my vision blurred, then closed my eyes. Somewhere between exhaustion and fury, a realization landed hard. This wasn't just Maya leaving me. This was Maya already gone, swallowed up by people who thrived on convincing others that betrayal was empowerment. The cursor blinked on my laptop, waiting for the next item on my list. I typed find Tyler, find notary, find paper trail. Then I shut it. My body felt like lead, my head a hive. The house creaked around me, half empty, half mine, and maybe already half stolen. And in that silence, one truth hardened into something sharp. This wasn't going to be fixed with texts or waiting. This was war by paperwork, and it had just begun. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw the yellow sticky note and the man's smirk at the Ring camera. By morning, the house felt hostile, like it had shifted alliances in the dark. The air had that sour aftertaste of cardboard boxes and dust where furniture had been. I brewed coffee in the French press, one of the only things she'd left behind, and sat on the floor because the chairs were gone. I stared at my phone, scrolling through the Freedom Flip website I found on her laptop. Glossy photos of people in business, casual holding champagne flutes, phrases like, build your empire, break free from scarcity, and, if they're not on board, they're ballast. Every testimonial looked like a stock photo, smiling couples with captions about tripling equity in 6 months. But in the fine print, I found Tyler's name, Tyler Reeves, founder and visionary. There was even an invitation link to their weekly in-person investor nights. My heart thudded. If she'd been at those, I could see what she'd been hearing, maybe even find her. That evening, I drove to the address listed on their flyer, a strip mall conference center wedged between a tax prep office and a martial arts dojo. Inside, folding chairs in neat rows faced a portable stage. Music blasted, upbeat pop meant to trick your pulse into excitement. A banner said, "Freedom Flip Academy. The future starts with you." Tyler walked on stage to applause like he was a rock star. Mid-40s, sharp suit, two white teeth. He had the rhythm of a preacher, every sentence structured to end with a crowd cheer. Your house isn't a home, it's a bank. Your fear isn't protection, it's chains. Who here is ready to break free? Dozens of hands shot up. People clapped and whistled like this was salvation. Then he shifted, scanning the crowd, eyes landing on me longer than comfort allowed. Some of you came here dragged by doubters. Some of you came here holding on to scarcity-minded partners. The crowd chuckled knowingly. My stomach clenched. If you love someone, you don't clip their wings. You don't call their dreams foolish. You let them fly. Or you get out of the way. The cheers rolled over me, drowning out the sound of my own pulse. Afterwards, there was mingling. Tables with glossy packets, volunteers in matching polos. I wandered, pretending to browse. I overheard fragments. We pulled $80,000 and flipped in 3 months. My husband still thinks I'm crazy, but wait until he sees the check. I wanted to scream that it was all smoke, but their faces glowed with zeal. The kind of glow people wear when they've mortgaged sanity for hope. I cornered one of the assistants, a woman with a headset. "I'm looking for Maya," I said. She stiffened, lips curling into a polite wall. "We don't share member information without consent." Her tone was as rehearsed as the slogans. Then, as I turned to leave, Tyler himself brushed past, his cologne sharp. "Alex, right?" His voice oozed familiarity. My blood chilled. "Maya told us all about you." He gave a slow smile, like we shared a private joke. "She's finally stepping into her power. Don't ruin it for her." "You forged my name on a loan," I hissed before I could stop myself. His smile didn't falter. "We don't forge anything. We facilitate. If you're scared, that's your prison. But Maya? She's out." He patted my shoulder like a father dismissing a child and walked away, already gathering a circle of worshippers. I drove home in a fog, knuckles white on the steering wheel. His words looped in my head. "She's out. Don't ruin it for her." My phone buzzed as I pulled into the driveway. A text from an unknown number. "If you love me, don't interfere. This is bigger than us." My chest tightened. It was her. Or maybe it was him, typing from her phone. I stumbled inside and went straight to the kitchen table, where my evidence pile still sat. Among the papers was the invoice from the moving company. My eyes caught the address again. The downtown loft under her LLC. I pulled it up on Google Maps. A sleek building with floor-to-ceiling windows. The kind of place influencers rented for backdrops. Not somewhere she could afford without draining us. I debated driving there, confronting her. My pulse said yes. My lawyer brain said no. Document first. I snapped photos of everything. Her notebook pages, the moving invoice, the ring snapshot, the bank alerts. I sent them to a cloud folder titled Proof. Then I emailed 2 lawyers I found online who specialized in property disputes. My message blunt: "My partner and I co-own a house. She moved out without notice, forged my signature on a HELOC, and transferred possessions to an LLC. I need urgent advice." It was past midnight when I finally shut the laptop. The house moaned in the dark, wood settling like it was exhaling disappointment. I lay on the bare mattress, the indentation where she used to sleep cold beside me. My phone buzzed once more. Another message. "Stop digging. It's not your money anymore." She chose. No signature, no name, just a threat wrapped as fact. I stared at it until dawn light edged the window, and somewhere, in that slow gray silence, a grim clarity set in. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft with paperwork and charm. And they thought I'd be too stunned to fight. They were wrong. The first lawyer to call me back was blunt. His name was Ramirez, and he spoke in clipped, careful phrases like he'd already done this dance too many times. "Partition by sale," he said after I explained. "If 2 co-owners can't agree, the court forces a sale. You'd both get your equity back, assuming there's equity left after the debt." My stomach dropped. "But the loan," I started. He cut me off gently. "That's the bigger problem. If your signature was forged, that's fraud. You'll need to freeze all action on the property. File a lis pendens to put everyone on notice. It stops them from selling or refinancing without the court's say." The words didn't comfort me, but they gave me rails to run on. I emailed him the files I'd gathered. An hour later, he called back. "That's not your signature," he said flatly. "Any judge would see it, but it's stamped by a notary. That complicates things." His tone implied he'd seen plenty of complications. That afternoon, I drove to the address of the notary listed on the loan documents. It was a cramped office above a strip of shops, the kind of place that smelled like ink and desperation. The notary, A thin man with tired eyes shifted in his chair when I asked about the document. "We sign what people bring," he muttered, tapping his pen nervously. "She had ID, said her husband was out of town." My fists clenched. I was not out of town, and I did not sign. His eyes darted. "I don't recall. Long day, lots of clients." His evasiveness told me more than he realized. He was either negligent, complicit, or both. Back at the house, I organized everything like evidence in a trial. I printed copies, highlighted dates, circled inconsistencies. My dining table had become a crime board without string. The Ring screenshot showed Tyler's face, half-shadowed, but still clear enough for anyone who knew him to recognize. The moving invoice tied Maya to the LLC. The bank emails proved the timeline. That night, exhaustion pressed down on me, but I forced myself to go through her spiral notebook again. In the margin of one page, scrawled hastily, were names: Sunrise LLC, Radiant Partners, Tyler R. Equipment in garage. Equipment. My chest went cold. I bolted to the garage. The tool chest, the power saw, the drill sets, gone. The empty outlines on the dusty floor told me exactly where they'd been. Even the ladder was missing. My phone buzzed right then. A message from Nick. "Don't freak out. Tyler borrowed the tools for a project. Maya said it's part of her contribution." My fingers shook as I typed back, "He's stealing. This is theft." The dots appeared, vanished, then nothing. Silence. I called Ramirez again, my voice cracking. "They're stripping the house," he sighed. "Document everything. Photos, timestamps. Call the police if you want, but unless you prove intent, they'll call it a civil matter. Your best weapon is paper. Stack it high. We'll move for a temporary restraining order." I took pictures of the garage, the missing spots on the shelves, the bare hooks where our tools had hung. Each click of the camera felt like another nail in a coffin I hadn't agreed to build. I emailed the photos to myself, then backed them up again. My paranoia was evolving into procedure. Around midnight, my phone vibrated. A message, this time from Maya. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Stop involving lawyers. This is my chance. Don't ruin it." My chest twisted, anger and grief wrestling for dominance. I typed, deleted, retyped. Finally, I sent, "You forged my name. You stole from me. That's not a chance, that's a crime." The message stayed unread. I sat in the dim kitchen, staring at the sticky note still pinned by the lighthouse magnet. The apology had curdled into mockery. The woman who once stayed up painting trim with me until 3 a.m. had been replaced by someone who spoke in mantras and threats. And the man pulling her strings was already carving up the life I thought we'd built. Somewhere between the silence of the house and the glowing folder of evidence on my laptop, I felt it harden inside me. This wouldn't end with begging her back. This was going to end in court, in filings, in signatures that actually held weight. They wanted me to roll over, to let the paperwork bury me. But I had paper too, and I was going to use it. I didn't wait for another message. The next morning, I drove straight downtown to the address from the moving invoice. The building was glass and steel, polished to a shine that made me feel like I'd shown up in work boots to a gala. I stood on the sidewalk staring up at the high windows, imagining our mismatched couch and chipped coffee table, sitting like intruders among white walls and chrome fixtures. I almost buzzed the call box, but my lawyer's voice echoed in my head. "Document. Don't confront." So I lingered outside until a delivery driver slipped in, and I caught the door before it closed. My heart pounded as I walked the quiet hallway, pretending I belonged. When I reached the unit listed on the invoice, I saw it. Our welcome mat. She'd brought it here. That stupid mat we'd bought at Target with "This is us" printed in curly script. My hand hovered over the door. I almost knocked. Almost. Instead, I slid a note under it. "We need to talk. I have evidence. If you care at all about fixing this, call me." Then I snapped a photo of the door and walked away before someone could throw me out. That night, she finally responded. A call, not a text. My chest tightened at the sound of her voice. "Alex, please stop," she said, breathless like she'd been running. "You don't understand. This is bigger than bills and tools and rugs. I'm building something. Tyler sees me. He believes in me. You just—" She choked on the words. "I believe in you," I snapped. "I put 30 grand into a house with you. That's not belief? You stole from me, Maya. You forged my name." Silence. Then, soft. "I didn't want to. They said you'd never let me try. They said you'd cage me in numbers and budgets until I was old and bitter. I couldn't breathe anymore." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "You could have talked to me. Instead, you wrote me a sticky note and gutted our life. That's not breathing. That's burning." Her voice cracked. "If you love me, don't drag me through court." Then she hung up. I sat there, shaking, replaying it in my head. She was in so deep she couldn't see the line between freedom and fraud. Tyler had replaced her voice with his own, his phrases dripping from her like venom. 2 days later, Nick texted me in a panic. Tyler's here. He's loading the garage stuff into a van. Said it's for the project. My blood iced. I raced home, tires screeching into the driveway. Sure enough, a van idled at the curb, back doors yawning open. Inside are power tools, extension cords, even boxes of light fixtures we hadn't installed yet. Tyler stood there directing, smug as ever. "Hey," I shouted, storming across the lawn. "Put it back." He turned slow, a smile playing on his lips. "Relax, Alex. This is contribution. Maya's investing sweat equity. You'll thank us when the profits come back." "You're stealing," I growled, pulling out my phone to record. His eyes flickered at that, but he didn't stop. "Stealing?" he echoed. "Funny word. She's a co-owner. Her share, her decision. You don't own her. You don't own the future." He turned back to the movers. "Load it." I kept filming, heart hammering, fury clawing my throat. "Every second of this goes to my lawyer, to the police. You're done." For the first time, the smile cracked, just for a second. Then he leaned close, voice low so only I could hear. "You think paperwork will save you? Judges eat out of my hand. She's with me now. You're just ballast." Nick hovered nearby, pale and shaking. "Alex, please," he whispered. "Don't make it worse." But I already knew worse had arrived. Watching that van roll away with pieces of my life, I realized this wasn't just theft. This was a full-scale dismantling, sanctioned by someone I used to love. Back inside, the house felt gutted again. The empty garage echoed like a wound. I emailed the video to Ramirez immediately, subject line, "Evidence of theft, urgent." He called me an hour later. "This changes things," he said. "We're filing for an emergency injunction. I'll push for criminal investigation too." His tone was steel. For the first time in weeks, I felt the faintest flicker of hope. But beneath it, grief gnawed. Maya wasn't a victim stolen away overnight. She'd chosen this. She'd stood beside him, let him strip our life bare, and called it breathing. That night, I sat at the kitchen table again, staring at the lighthouse magnet holding her sticky note. My phone buzzed with one more message. From her this time. "If you keep pushing, you'll lose me forever." I typed back without hesitation. "You already left." Then I pressed send, and for the first time, the silence that followed felt like truth instead of torture. The injunction hearing came faster than I expected. Ramirez worked like a machine, filing motions, stapling my evidence into neat stacks of undeniable truth. The courtroom was fluorescent and cold, the kind of place that smelled faintly of coffee burned hours ago. When the clerk called our case, my pulse roared in my ears. Maya walked in behind Tyler, her hair pulled back, a blazer too big on her shoulders like she'd borrowed power that didn't fit. She wouldn't look at me. Tyler, though, he looked straight at me, lips curled in that same smirk from the Ring camera. The judge, gray-haired and impatient, scanned the filings. Ramirez laid it out clean. Co-ownership, forged signature, fraudulent HELOC application, missing property, video evidence. He slid photos and screenshots across like cards in a winning hand. Then he pressed play on the clip of Tyler at my garage, ordering the movers. The sound echoed through the room. "Load it." For the first time, Tyler shifted in his seat. Not much, but enough. The judge raised his brows. "Mr. Reeves, do you care to explain why you were removing property from a residence you don't own?" Tyler tried his smile. "Your Honor, these were contributions. Investments toward joint projects." "Projects?" the judge cut in, voice sharp. "Sir, this looks like theft. And a forged signature on a notarized document is not a project. It's a crime." Maya's lips trembled. She looked at me then, just for a second, eyes wide like a deer caught mid-leap. For a flicker of a moment, I saw the woman I knew, buried under slogans and shame. The ruling came swift. Temporary restraining order granted. No disbursement of the loan. All property to remain untouched until further order. Investigation into forgery recommended. Tyler's jaw tightened, the mask slipping. Maya shrank beside him, her hands knotted in her lap. Outside, as people filed out, she finally spoke. "Alex." Her voice cracked. I thought it would make sense if it worked." Tyler said, "He's not saving you," I said softly. "He's gutting you. And he almost took me down with you." Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't step closer. Tyler's hand landed on her shoulder like a chain. She flinched but didn't shrug it off. I wanted to reach for her, to pull her back, but I knew it wasn't my choice anymore. She had to want out. Weeks passed. Investigators circled Tyler. Whispers spread of other couples. Other houses drained dry. The Academy's glossy flyers vanished from community boards. Sunrise LLC dissolved into paperwork ash. As for me, I kept living in the half-empty house. I patched the holes in the garage wall where shelves had been. I bought a second-hand rug to cover the pale ghost of the old one. I fixed the wobbly dining chair myself. Each repair felt like stitching a wound. Small and imperfect, but mine. Maya texted once more, late at night. I'm sorry, I don't know how to undo it. I don't know who I am without it. I stared at the message until my eyes burned, then typed back, figure out who you are without him. That's the only way. She never replied. One evening, I took the yellow sticky note from the fridge. The ink was faded, the edges curled. I held it for a long time, then set it down on the counter. Beside it, I wrote my own note on a fresh square. Sorry, I'm gone too. But I'm gone towards something better. I stuck it on the wall above the new tools I'd bought for myself. The house creaked in the quiet. Not with loss this time, but with something steadier. Survival, ownership. My name, unforged, on paper, that actually mattered. And for the first time since the moving truck, I breathed without it catching in my chest.